On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, I would like to talk to you about the Bitcoin cycle. I'd like to give you an update on the Coinbase UK bank payments feature. There's a new way to earn money on your GPU miner, and there's a new version of DTube that has been released, in my opinion, at the perfect time. So let's begin with Bitcoin SEC news cycle. The whole reaction to that was done and dusted in, well, it's a 20-day cycle, but usually it's not exactly 20 days, right? So like if you've been tuning in for a while, there's like there's a major cycle and a minor cycle in the Bitcoin price markets, 80-day cycle and a 20-day cycle, which is sometimes a misnomer. It's basically a major cycle and a minor cycle. The reason I say it's a misnomer is sometimes it's not exactly 80 days and sometimes it's not exactly 20 days. And in this case, the 20-day cycle was actually 25 days. So that's why I mentioned that. So basically on the 14th of July, in between the 14th of July and the 8th of August, that was one minor cycle lasting 25 days. And in that time, Bitcoin gained around 38% and then gave it all back, all within that 25-day period. What's interesting about that rally was that it was 10 days in length and the fall in price was 15 days in length, right? So it wasn't exactly 25 days, half and half, rally and then fall. The rally only took 10 days and then the fall took 15 days. So the rise was faster than the fall, if that makes sense. And as we discussed yesterday, this whole cycle, the one we're currently in, it seems to be driven by the expectation of the Securities and Exchange Commission approving the Bitcoin exchange traded fund under regulation. So the sell-off came pretty soon, actually the next day, after that regulatory decision was delayed until the 30th of September. So it will be of no surprise to me if we see a similar rally in the last 2 weeks of September as this plays itself out all over again, right? So people have bailed out because they don't want the volatility of Bitcoin in the meantime. They just wanted to have a quick profit on the SEC decision, speculating on the news. And because that's not happening now until the end of September, well, a lot of people figure they may as well pull their money out and wait until then. And they'll just do the whole same thing again, put it back in the last 2 weeks of September with the expectation that it's going to get passed, right? Now, if you deleted the whole boom and bust from the last 30 days, well, you'd see that we're right back to the sideways neutral market sentiment that we've been in since like mid-July. In fact, even if you included the ETF news reaction, it still fits within what would be considered a sideways market. It just has, high volatility in between the top and bottom of the range. So Bitcoin, for example, has been traded in between like 6,000 and 8,000 since March, with the odd visit outside that range, but always returning back inside it again. Now, a $2,000 trading range, which if it was an $8,000 Bitcoin, that $2,000 represents a quarter of it, right? 25% of it. So a 25% volatility in between 6 and 8,000, that's some serious volatility, right? In the real world not the real world, the old world of investing. It's fairly normal in crypto because we're in the early days and low liquidity. So it's still sideways though. If it sticks in between 6 and 8K, that's what I mean by sideways movement. It's just got a high amplitude. So this is why we need a rally and a decisive break of $10,000 per Bitcoin. And then we need to test 10,000. It needs to hold, right? We need that for any kind of bull market to be declared, despite all the clickbait and everything you might hear on YouTube over the last week. I've seen it myself. And I'll hold my hands up. I've been guilty of clickbait in the past. It's not my default mode. Some people operate on clickbait as a default mode. I only do that when I lose my mind and get caught up in the hype and the competitive nature of YouTube and start chasing views and stuff like that. But ordinarily, I'm right on point. So for me, in this market climate, I'm taking the opportunity in the sideways move to do some steady accumulation of my favorite coins. And the launch of the Coinbase deposits in Great British Pounds kind of came at the ideal time, really. That's actually the thing I want to tell you next. So on to item number 2. My Coinbase account now has Great British Pounds deposits enabled. So, the other day I said, well, the day it was announced, I logged in and it wasn't there. But yes, the following day it was there. So immediately I tried it out. So I made a transfer using the UK faster payment system on my end. And then 2 hours later, it still hadn't shown up in my Coinbase account. To which I was like, WTF. So when I buy Bitcoin using Bitalicious, which is a UK-based sort of peer-to-peer exchange, and I send a bank transfer that way, it's picked up within minutes, right? You can complete the whole trade in real time. Using a bank transfer, you just say, I want to buy some Bitcoin, this is how much I want to buy. It connects you with a trader. It says, these are the bank details. You send the bank payment, right? Immediately it clears. They send the Bitcoin, job done, right? It's brilliant. Now with Coinbase, I assumed it to be the same. Turned out not to be the same. And good job I only sent a small amount initially, right? Just to test the system out, because Confucius says, never test the depth of the water with both feet. And that's a axiom that I live by. So I didn't just go, oh my God, yeah, put all my money in. No, I put a tiny amount into the Coinbase thing, because you never know how deep the water is, do you? So I don't know exactly what time I made the transfer, but it was on the 9th of August, right? Today is the 10th of August, so it was yesterday. And it was the day after I broke the news. And then I went on a rant about how great the UK faster payment system was, only to discover that the money did not show up in my Coinbase account until 12 hours later. So that's not what I was expecting, but maybe it's fast enough. Maybe 12 hours is even a symptom of the system only being, just launched. Coinbase did send me an email eventually at like 10 p.m. last night, which was about 12 hours. Like, I think I did the transfer at like 10 in the morning. Checked it at 12, it wasn't there, and then I thought, okay. I just assumed they would send me an email when it was done, so I just stopped refreshing it and went back to work. And then at 10 p.m, boom, gets the email, deposit received. Now the truth is that Coinbase did receive that money into their bank account immediately, right? If they've got a UK bank account that supports faster payments, which is the whole idea of why they're doing this, they will have received my money immediately, right? Why the hell wasn't it credited immediately? I do not know. But needless to say, I'm going to modify my crypto purchasing process now. So I want to say I want to accumulate some EOS, for example. I'll do a free bank transfer to Coinbase. Now that I can do that, I'll use Coinbase Pro to buy some Bitcoin with no fees and exchange it for British pounds. Then I'll transfer that Bitcoin out of Coinbase into my Binance account, which I did recently for fees as low as 2 pence. And then I'll buy the EOS on Binance before withdrawing it to my own private wallet. Now I mentioned I was using Bitalicious as my fiat gateway, but launching this new feature, Coinbase have won my business back. To make it perfect, they just need that slight tweak where it's instantly reflected in my account when I do the bank transfer, because that's what Coinbase are competing with, and it's what I'm used to with Bitalicious. So I'll keep you updated on that. I'm going to test this out multiple times and see if the experience is exactly the same, see if it's a consistent 12 hours, and I'll let you know about it. A very quick bit of EOS news. EOS Ignite is coming up next week. This is a virtual conference which will run for 24 hours on like the 14th to the 15th, because it's 24 hours, 14th to the 15th of August, and it's aimed at token holders specifically. So if you're an EOS token holder and you want the skinny on the latest in the EOS ecosystem, you might want to tune into this EOS Ignite conference that's going live on the 14th and 15th of August. So it's free to attend. All you have to do is go to eosignite.com and register. It features all of your favorite EOS personalities and some you've probably never even heard of, which to me is equally valuable. And it runs for a non-stop 24-hour period, and it features speakers in all different time zones as the day goes on. So I was thinking technically you could tell all the speakers to turn up at say 3 p.m. and then they would all be on time, wouldn't they? That's not what they're doing, by the way. I just thought that was an interesting time warp. Next story, DeepBrain chain, the training net goes live, offering an alternative for GPU miners. So I got this from sludgefeed.com. So this one really is for my friend Josh over at Easy Crypto Hunter. The question is, what do you do with your GPU mining rig when the altcoin prices are absolutely in the toilet? Well, as long as you have GeForce 1080s or higher, you can point your processing power at this deep learning AI project, because DeepBrain chain, they require hardware to the specification of a GeForce 1080 or higher. So the good news for Josh is that he only sells GeForce 1080 mining rigs at a minimum, which means all the rigs he's sold they have the opportunity for doing work on the DeepBrain chain and ending these DBC tokens. In terms of prices, DeepBrain chain ranks at 193rd by market cap and is trading today at just under 2 US cents. And if you want to sell your earnings from DeepBrain chain, you can convert those DBC tokens to Bitcoin using the Huobi exchange. And this AI training net went live on the 8th of August, so just go to deepbrainchain.org and check it out for yourself. Final story for today. I'm not going to go into depth on this one because I literally only just saw this before I started recording, but 13 hours ago, the creator of DTube, which is a D.tube, decentralized YouTube. If you've never heard of DTube, then, well, congratulations, you just struck gold. But DTube has just launched its 8th generation software. So DTube version 0.8. They're calling it the grand upgrade is finally here. So they posted on Steam at 13 hours ago saying, right, it's launched. Here we go, DTube 0.8. So I'll just give you a quick overview of all the various new features. It's now fully open source. Most of it was open source before, except for the main core application. That's now changed. Everything's now open source, which means that all third-party providers and apps and integrations can actually see exactly how the code is running and then make theirs, 100% compatible with it. They've got a notifications feature, just like on busy.org or Facebook or Twitter and all the sites that we're used to. I've tested it on DTube. It works. Brilliant. Tells you when you get a new subscriber, everything. Tells you everything. DTV. So DTube lacked the feature of live streaming, and another site called DLive, which also operates on the Steam blockchain, was kind of eating their lunch on this. So DLive went straight in with live streaming, and a lot of people were using that for live streaming because DTube didn't support it. But now you can live stream on DTube. And they do say here this is a big new feature, and they're using Mist server, which is a centralized live streaming server, but with an open source version. I'm not sure how you would do live streaming in a decentralized way. I'm sure that will be possible eventually, but I suppose our peer-to-peer networks are just not robust or resilient or fast enough yet to do live streaming like in real time, I suppose. And further on in this article, they even talk about problems with IPFS, and using IPFS as the network to host the video files is kind of not unreliable, but it's inconsistent in its performance, which is a definite no-no if you want to attract the masses. Another new feature is DTalk. It's a private messaging system that runs on Steam, and then you can use it through DTube, and it's end-to-end encryption, all the rest of it. That isn't actually on the Steam blockchain, though. They said, you can read the article for yourself, but they were saying it really wasn't a suitable thing to use the Steam blockchain for, so they've gone with this GUN technology, which is a decentralized graph database. And Hyman Danger, the guy that founded YouTube, worked with the creator of this GUN technology, Mark N. Adal, to create this DTalk feature. So anyway, I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just whipping over the features here. They've now included a DMCA, which is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, that can now handle DMCA takedown requests, because just like YouTube, because DTube is peer-to-peer and censorship resistant, it did mean that people were posting movies and ripping off, original content and all that sort of stuff. So now they've included a DMCA takedown feature, DMCA rather, takedown feature. So if you find your copyright material on there, you can request for it to be taken down, because that's breaking the law. And then they go on to talk about clustering their infrastructure in order to scale it and blah, blah, blah. They're really getting into, serious web app territory now, because the usage on DTube is just absolutely skyrocketing. And then to talk about migrating to the new infrastructure and blah, blah, blah. And also they've started to list the DTube development code on Utopian, which is a decentralized GitHub that's also got an incentive system powered by the Steam blockchain. So a whole army of people can now contribute to DTube's development and monetize those contributions using the Steam blockchain. So this is becoming a full circle ecosystem now. So anyway, they then credit a few people with contributions that have made to this release, and then link to all their various social media profiles. So I need to digest the contents of this post in its entirety, including all the detail of those features that I've just mentioned. But I also need to play with the live streaming feature, right? Because that sounds like a good one. And I said at the beginning here that this couldn't have come at a better time because the purge is upon us, right? I got banned by Stripe at the beginning of June, so that's a type of financial censorship. There's a whole controversy going around right now about Alex Jones being taken off the internet, deplatformed, depersoned, all the rest of it. And then I meant to cover this today, but I just don't have time. Gab.ai, the sort of the free speech alternative to Twitter, got a letter from Microsoft saying you need to take these posts down, otherwise we're shutting your website down, which surprised me because it did occur to me as soon as Gab launched way back. It occurred to me immediately. I'm like, how are they hosting the site? What's their infrastructure? Because that's how you could attack Gab. It's a centralized, web app, just like Twitter. So you could just go after whoever their hosting provider is. And given that Gab was a startup, they didn't own their own infrastructure, so they had to, as a startup, bootstrap the thing. And it turns out they're using Microsoft's Azure cloud infrastructure, right? I mean, I'd say big mistake, but what are you going to do? You're a startup with limited funds and all the rest of it. You can't just build out your own data center from day one before you've bootstrapped the business, right? So as it turns out, this is how we found out that they're hosting on Microsoft Azure's cloud infrastructure. Microsoft sent them an email, letter, whatever, saying, we don't like these posts, you got to take them down, right? Which kind of goes right against why Gab was established in the first place, to be a completely open, absolute free speech social network. And if they can be censored by the hosting provider, that's exactly what I was worried about. Anyway, I've kind of covered the story now, haven't I? But Gab say that, in response to this, they've already been working on building out their own infrastructure. So they need their own data center, quite frankly. So that if they own that, then that's better, right? I'd have to think how that could get censored. I suppose it could be vandalized, or I don't know, the police could raid it. That's the problem with even a centralized data center. Even if you own it, it's still a central point of attack, isn't it? Which is why you got to have a decentralized network, right? That's the only way to have censorship resistance. Whether it's peer-to-peer, BitTorrent style, whether it's a hash graph style system, or whether it's a blockchain style system like Steemit or EOS or whatever. You got to have it, right? Just so all ideas can be shared. And the reason that's most important is all the bad ideas need to be published so everyone can see who are the stupid people, right? Who have the stupid ideas and who don't. If you drive these stupid ideas underground, then they get a cult following, becomes a cult, right? If you just let people rant and rave about the most ridiculous stuff in the world out in the open, people will look at it and they'll see for themselves how stupid that is. And then they'll self-censor, they'll just tune out, right? But by hiding it, you create martyrdom, right? That's why free speech has to be absolute. Just let people see all of the maniacs and let them see how they talk. And then people will decide to stay away from them voluntarily, right? Doing things by force ultimately never works. So that's just my take. And Gab are, a victim of that right now. But that's all I've got for you today. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you thought it was absolutely terrible, you can hit that button if you like. But if you liked it, hit the like button, get subscribed, and even grab yourself a discount coupon for either one of my introductory cryptocurrency courses, which you will find down in the video description. That will get you either one of these two courses here for $19.99. Or you can go directly to cryptoversity.com, click on courses, and you can access them that way. Also, if you go to twitter.com/chrissconeyint, which stands for Chris Coney International, you'll find my Twitter profile, and that's where you should totally follow me. And if you go to cryptoversity.com/notifications, you'll be able to get an email each time I post a new episode. Some people have been complaining they haven't been getting notifications, so I will let you know directly. If you've got a bit more time, check out yesterday's episode where I explained a bit more about crypto markets slumping following the SEC decision to delay the ETF. Other than that, I will be back with the next episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.